The Super Speedway Podcast is a Dream Bigger media production. For news, photos, show notes, and information about advertising on the podcast, visit www.thesuperspeedway.com.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Super Speedway.
I feel fine. The 8-car obviously just ran out of talent. Seems like you can win a couple of Xfinity championships and still stick your head where the sun don't shine when time comes right. So just disappointed. It was a kind of an average race, sitting there waiting with our guaranteed rate forward, and never got a chance to show how good a car we had.
Welcome to episode 169 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. Little Ryan Newman there for us, James.
The Rocket Man getting his shots in, eh?
Yeah, getting the shots in.
I heard that live, and it made me. I laughed.
Yeah, I chuckled. Newman's got a good sense of humor, and when he's irritated, it's even better.
Yeah. Yep.
It's good stuff.
Well, when Reddick made that move, so for those who, if you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you've watched the race.
Yeah.
He kind of bonsai'd it, going for the lead, and I kind of didn't blame him, but I also put on Twitter that he basically he's a knucklehead.
It was a 100% bonehead move. Tyler Reddick knows it was a bonehead move, but he
admitted it.
It's a bonehead move you make with 2 laps to go in the last race to get into the playoffs when you're trying to get in. I mean,
yeah, he needed it.
If NASCAR got what they wanted. This is exactly what they wanted. This is what the fans wanted. And if you don't like this, then sorry, but this was great. I mean, this was exactly what we were looking for.
Well, here's my question to start the podcast off right here, Eric. We're never going back anywhere else for a playoff cutoff race, right? This is it. Unless it's Talladega.
Yeah, unless we swap Talladega for this one.
Yeah. It was perfect, wasn't it? I mean, I felt like it was perfect.
It was perfect. And I'll mention door bumper clear because we were joking previously this week that we kind of the door bumper clear after show now.
Yeah.
But listened to DBC the other day, and Brett Griffin talked about, he said on his show, back when they did all the restructuring at Daytona, built the grandstands up, he said they're not doing this for a 4th of July race. They're doing this to start and end the series in Daytona. Well, he was kind of right.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
We end the regular season there now, and I think it's there to stay.
It's a big venue for a reason. They want to do a lot of things there, and obviously the Daytona 500 is the granddaddy of them all, right? It's the big show. So
this one's going to put some butts in seats when we're allowed to put butts in seats again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I you've actually interacted with my buddy Derek Winter on Twitter, and from time to time I saw he posted like, when can I get my tickets?
Yep.
I would like to go to this next year. So
yeah, this will be a big one.
Yeah, it could be bigger than the 500 maybe in time. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a stretch, but as far as importance and stuff.
Yeah, it certainly has. I think it's going to be a fan draw. Maybe as far as it's not going to have the prestige, but the importance of it in a season. Yeah, heck yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a big deal. So.
And I mean, we couldn't ask for anything better. We had 4 guys basically in a battle for the bubble spot, and then the odds of somebody winning and getting in. It just, you couldn't have asked for really a better script. You're not going to probably get more than 4 guys in the battle for that spot. And, I know that people like to complain.
NASCAR fans, let's just say it. NASCAR fans complain.
Yeah. I'm not going to name the reporters, but there's certain NASCAR journalists who complain about points as they run. But that made this race compelling.
It's important.
NBC. Okay. So I gave NBC a lot of crap at the beginning of their part of the season, and they did a spectacular job in this race of tracking the stories, keeping us informed, letting us know what was going on. My wife watched the race with me. She was annoyed at one point because they didn't have the as they run on the side of the screen. She wanted to see that the whole race. They mostly had it up, but there were a couple points they didn't have it up. It was compelling. They did a great job of covering it, especially doing it remote. So I'll give props where it's due. NBC's had some struggles this season. And maybe it really is just because they're not at the track, because they figured it out this week.
Part of it. Yeah. Well, and Tyler Reddick, when he took the lead on that bonsai move, I mean, they were right on it.
Yep.
Leader, he was in.
Yep.
And that just shows you for those who are those who are wondering, he's there to win the championship. Yeah, that's why you make that move. It gives you context for, people who are watching maybe for the first time or, gambling, things like that. I mean, I know that stuff's important. So.
Right. So I got some feedback from a longtime listener this week that we don't often discuss the winner of the race at all, if enough. So here we are, and the dog's barking.
5 minutes in.
The dog apparently is upset about it too. Yeah, we're 5-6 minutes in now, and we haven't mentioned that William Byron won the Coke Zero 400. He was already in on points where he ran, but gets the win and seals the deal and locks himself into the 16 drivers of the playoffs. I was giving him some crap a couple weeks ago about needing to prove himself, and now he's got the win. And in addition, he's got himself an extra 2 years. We'll talk about that in a bit, but signed on with Hendrick for another 2 years. So,
yeah, man, he's what a race! I was so excited for him. Was really pulling for him. Sentimentally, we'll talk about Jimmy Johnson. I know a lot of people wanted to see Jimmy make a run at the championship and make it into the playoffs. But I think I was really pulling for Byron, and that move he made, that four wide, was just fantastic. I mean, really
I didn't think he was going to survive it. I thought he cut a tire down.
Yeah, it was. I mean, but that's he needed it. I mean, I know Jimmy ended up crashing afterwards, with that whole scrum going into turn one late in the race, but. He needed that spot. And he made a great move. And this comes a week after. I know you were giving him a hard time last week, but I gave him a hard time too because I thought he took it too easy on Jimmy at Dover. Yep. And he made up for it. That's for sure. Right. I mean, that was all aggressive, all talent, all the things that you and I have kind of, we like William Byron. We've thought he had a lot of potential. I know we're not the only ones, obviously. I mean, Rick Hendrick thinks he's got potential. So, but to see him come through in a big way and break through in a very important race and a race that he needed to have a great day is just huge for his confidence. I hope to see some more from him coming forward.
Yep. I want to jump back to the Tyler Reddick accident because I got my big ones confused. That's right. Reddick's wreck was not with 2 to go. This was the wreck with 2 to go.
This was the 2 to go wreck.
Reddick's wreck was with like 20 to go, I think, wasn't it? It was a little early to be making that move.
A little early.
His was the first big one of the night, which was surprising.
Yeah, and that led to Kyle Busch. Yeah, and they were, the guys were pretty tame out there for the most part. But yeah, there was that was the one where Kyle Busch, poor Kyle Busch. Yeah, he was mad.
Well, let's talk about Kyle for a second too. Like, this is the best I've seen. This is the best I remember Kyle running at Daytona. He was there in position at the end of this race.
Yeah, he had a great race.
And just, Reddick just took his nose off. And so I was sitting here thinking, wow, this might be a Kyle Busch victory. And, the thing is to think about, one of the big races that Kyle doesn't have yet is the Daytona 500. Gets another run like this, puts himself up front. Maybe next year he finally checks that box. So
Yep. And that wreck did come at lap 153. So it was getting. I mean, we were at within 10 laps to go, but still, it was a big move.
We were in it, but it was still early.
Yeah. He had some time to make some other maneuvers there, but that was. It's hard to blame him. Like, I know. I'm trying to find the right words. It's what he had to do. I mean, it's a bonehead move, but sometimes you got to be a bonehead.
You know what? He was clear when he made the move. It just
you shoot your shot. Yep, exactly. It was
you can't fault
I'm not going to kill the kid for it. No,
you make a move like that, and it's a split-second decision. It's literally a half a second that you've got to make that decision, and sometimes you guess wrong. And know what?
That's super speedway racing, dude.
Tyler Reddick is a rookie, but we've seen plenty of veterans make that same mistake too, and it's just part of it.
Yeah, everybody makes mistakes at the big tracks.
I would call Denny Hamlin pretty darn experienced. I would call Joey Logano pretty darn experienced, but they made a poor move and ran into each other and caused a wreck too. So I mean,
they're probably the two of the 3 best guys we got on these tracks.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah,
so it happens. Yep. You mentioned Jimmy Johnson. Disappointing. I think both of us kind of expected it to go down this way, but Jimmy's run for an 8th championship is over.
Yeah. And he drove, kudos to Jimmy. Mm-hmm. He drove a really great race. Yep. He was in position all night where he needed to be. Just got caught up, as it's bound to happen. And that was the end of it for him.
Yeah.
I hate it for Jimmy. I do feel bad. But really, Jimmy's. I know there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, COVID took him out," and blah blah blah. No, man, he had opportunity after opportunity to seal the deal on this thing, and there's a lot. It's never. What's the saying, Eric? It's a death by a million paper cuts.
Right.
Jimmy's got plenty of paper cuts besides COVID. I mean, that is a big one. I agree. That's probably.
Here's the question: how many points? I don't have the points up in front of me. I don't know if you do. How many points did he miss it by?
He missed it by 6.
6. I guarantee
where he ended up.
Without looking at the points, I can guarantee you that he lost more than 6 points when he wrecked at Darlington.
Yep.
Leading, coming to the end of the stage.
That was 10 points.
I know he lost more than 6 points.
That was 10 points right there just for that stage.
I know he lost more than 6 points when he was DQ'd at Charlotte. This has nothing to do with COVID. This is just, he still was in it after COVID.
COVID was a piece of the pie, but it wasn't the whole pie.
Yep.
Ask Austin Dillon.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon had to sit out a race because of COVID, and what happened?
Yep.
He won a race.
Yep.
He won a race, and he was already locked in. So, that's what you got to do.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that's the system. It's the year we're in.
Yeah.
You look at Kevin Harvick's having an incredible year. Denny Hamlin's having an incredible year. But you know what? One failed COVID test, and it could come crashing down. And that's just the reality we're in right now.
Right.
It's the way it is with all sports.
The thing is, don't feel sorry for Jimmy Johnson. The guy's got 7 championships.
He's okay with it. I mean, he's hurting, but he's okay with it.
He's the greatest driver we've ever had in the Cup Series. He's solidified his legacy. This wasn't going to change things. He wasn't going to win the championship this year.
Exactly.
That team has not done what it needed to do to win the championship. So,
sorry, guys. Nobody for Hendrick Motorsports is winning this championship. You Chase Elliott fans, I'm sorry. It ain't happening.
Chase is the only one who's got the shot, in my opinion.
And it ain't happening.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not gonna even acknowledge it. I mean, he'll win the Roval. Yeah, but I
think that's worth some discussion, James, when we talk about playoffs, because
we'll get there. We'll get there.
I have old Chase in my Final Four.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
All right. So, anything else with this race? Let me pull the results up here.
I wanted to say William Byron. So William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Chase Elliott, all 3 of those guys won their very first Cup race within 1 start of each other, either 98 or 99 Cup starts. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Just before their 100th Cup start, they each got a win.
I also saw a stat from Fox, I think it was, that the age that William Byron won his first race at is only 24 days off of the age that Jeff Gordon won his first race.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, they're in the same. Yeah, they're in the same. They're in the same loop or the same neighborhood as each other.
I mean, when you want numbers to say something, you can find any numbers to say what you want.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Eric, what does this change for William Byron for you? Anything?
No.
I mean, no.
No.
Just great win. The natural progression that we wanted to see. We wanted to see him win this type of race,
it's
right?
a super speedway win. I mean, Trevor Bayne won a super speedway race at Daytona. I will say it's not something to write home about. Williams had some really good runs. I think that this might be the thing that helps them realize that they can do it and give them the confidence, because we know this. There's a lot of confidence in this sport. A lot of it comes down to confidence. And now that he knows he can do it, I wouldn't be surprised to see him click some off. And maybe win another one before the end of the season. But
Talladega, or
I mean, Byron's good at other tracks too.
He's good. He's pretty solid everywhere.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good crew chief.
I was just gonna. That's exactly where I was going. So Chad Knaus has never missed a playoff, ever.
That's interesting.
Yeah, never.
That's
And he, talk about hashtag chasing 8, Jimmy Johnson. Chad Knaus chasing 8 right now.
That's interesting.
Man, isn't that crazy that Chad could? I mean, it's not going to happen, but Chad could get to 8 titles as a crew chief.
That's crazy.
I mean, he's got a chance. So, I loved, by the way, him screaming at the pit crew not to touch William Byron. Did you hear any of that audio? Oh my God! So he told the guys, go take a picture with the car. This is a great moment. And the crew guys all ran out there. and they were all started hugging Byron at the start-finish line, and you could hear him screaming on the radio, "I told you to social distance, social distance."
I
So
think we
even
can
in that
all
moment, he
forgive that. I mean,
yeah, he hasn't won a race in years, and and he's screaming about social distancing
That's funny.
after the checker flag. It's awesome.
that's good stuff.
Never change, Chad. Never change.
So, Jimmy was disappointing, but the heartbreak for me was Eric Jones.
Yeah,
I really thought
yeah.
Eric Jones, he had himself in a good position.
Yeah.
Thought he was where he needed to be able to get the win, got caught up in that first wreck. And that was it for old Eric Jones, and no playoffs.
He pounded
this
the
year
wall
for him.
pretty good too.
Yeah, he did.
That was that sucks. I mean, he was in a place where he needed to win the race, and that's tough. That's tough to do at Daytona.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask.
Yeah,
But I mean, he's a lame duck anyway, so
Right.
I understand.
right. Let's see. Kurt and Kyle both finished back. I mean, it's hard to look at the results and really see much of a story in a restricted play or a super
You
speedway
always got to
race.
look at the normal backmarker guys. I mean, one guy that we really should shout out for his late race charge was Bubba Wallace. That was exciting, and that's
Still
when
managed a
Byron
fifth
made
place finish despite getting put in the wall.
Yeah, and that's when Byron made his move to take the lead
Yeah.
as well. But that was a beautiful run from Bubba. Something to get excited about. I mean, he's good at super speedway racing. He really is. Blaney was right there.
Yep.
Um,
Brennan Gaughan finished 8th.
Yep. Chris Buescher, John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fun thing with one of these races is looking at these guys that aren't normally up front and seeing. I mean, Michael
Brendan
McDowell,
Poole.
14th, Brendan Poole, 15th, Ross Chastain, 16th. That's a Spire car, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a Spire car. Yep, the
I mean,
77.
there you go. So,
Yeah, it's fun to see some of the backmarker guys get a shot at it.
Yep.
And Michael McDowell, he was in that big wreck and he rallied
Mhm.
for 14th. So that was a good run. Matt DiBenedetto was not good, which is surprising. He just salvaged all day and came home 12th. So he gets a chance to run for the championship as well.
Do you think that the fact that he's in the playoffs is going to solidify him for next season?
It's weird. He had that press conference this week. Boy, I don't know. Wood Brothers, I don't know. I feel like they are. I don't know. Menards kind of has his back, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Menards is just with the Wood Brothers, though. It's hard to say. I mean, when you've got, it sounds like Chase Briscoe might stay
Right.
down another year. What do you do with Austin Cindric? Everybody's freaking out about that.
Yep.
That whole thing. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter. That was fun.
No.
Basically his stuff all sold out on the Penske shop, and Twitter lost their minds because they couldn't find any Austin Cindric gear. They thought he got fired. So with those two guys in the waiting, it's gonna be tough. Did Matt DiBenedetto to prove anything? I don't know.
It doesn't hurt to keep these guys down longer, but
Well, you got the new car coming, so what's the hurt to stay down another year?
Right.
That's my thinking on it. Let these guys run another season with this current car, and then bring.
But then again, you have the argument of if they're going to come up and tear up cars, let's let them tear up the ones we're going to throw away anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's
So.
the Ricky Stenhouse signing argument.
Yep.
But you said too when we were messaging this week, and you nailed it, and it's something that we've discussed plenty of times. Is COVID has changed the financial backdrop of NASCAR for many years.
Yep.
And a lot of teams. I mean, look at William Byron. We'll talk about it. I mean, that's an extension, but it's a short extension.
Yeah.
Brad Keselowski, 1-year extension. So
Yeah, the fact that Byron's 2 years, which I really think it's a 1-year extension.
It's a
though, right?
1-year extension
Yeah.
to what he had. Yeah. But his sponsor Liberty is not solidified for 2022, and with everything going on with Liberty, we don't have to get into that.
Right.
Who knows if they'll be back? So, it's tough to say.
Interesting. Anything else worth pointing out here at Talladega? Or Daytona? Whatever. It's one of
Looking
those-
forward
one of those super
looking
speedway
forward to
tracks.
Talladega.
You
we?
aren't kidding, man. I'm so excited about the fact that we got the Xfinity cars back at Talladega, too.
Yeah, Xfinity Racing, and we're heading to the Southern 500. I mean, this is a great part of the schedule. Bristol Night Race is coming up, so we've got a lot of good stuff coming up.
This round is like the best round in the playoffs, I think, or one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good round. It's a good
Yeah,
round.
it's a great round.
Go
Great
Darlington
round.
and then 2 short tracks. I mean, come on. What more can you
Yeah.
ask for?
Exactly. Yeah, it's really good. This is the best. Yeah, you're right. This is the best round. Yep.
Did you catch the Xfinity race, James?
I caught the snippets of it, but I watched the end. So
So yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Obviously the 3 cars with what the heck is the name of the team now? It's I'm drawing a
Colleague?
Colleague Racing. Pretty much, I mean, they ruined that Xfinity race by just doing to a T what the best way to ride with your teammates is.
I know. I hate the teammate crap so much.
I do too. And they destroyed that race. It was awful. That and the fact that those guys, this Xfinity series, man, this year, nobody is willing to give an inch, and it turns into a complete crash fest. And we lost half the field before we got to halfway. But anyway, so we come down to the last lap. It's 3 of the Colleague cars. AJ Allmendinger leading Ross Chastain. Justin Haley's behind him, and looks like it's pretty much going to go single file to the checkers. And they go into turn 3, and Ross Chastain tries to go underneath AJ Allmendinger and wrecks him, which I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that those two wrecked. I did not see it coming at all, despite how aggressive Ross Chastain is. Did not see it coming. Justin Haley managed to sneak through and get the win. What do we think of that move? And if you're going to assess blame on it, who do you assess blame to? Is it Allmendinger or was it Chastain? And I mean,
oh gosh,
is this acceptable, or are they teammates and they should have just stayed single file?
Well, Allmendinger's a part-time teammate,
right?
You know, he's not running a full season. It's
not
his.
Chastain doesn't have a win this season. He's the only Colleague driver that doesn't.
And Ross Chastain's feeling the tightening of everything around him, because I think he had higher expectations for this season. I think if I had to blame somebody with that specific situation, it's probably Ross.
Yeah. And Ross said, he was on Dale Jr. Download this week. He said he went for a hole that he saw the hole as big enough and then it closed up. But when he looks at the replays, he said he saw something that wasn't there. There was no hole.
Yeah.
So there was some blame that went on Allmendinger for not blocking quickly enough, which, I mean, if your teammate's behind me, maybe don't feel like you have to block. It's hard. Yeah. I mean, is anybody at fault, or is this just a racing thing?
It's just that. Yeah, this is just a racing thing.
And if your colleague's, owner, are you all right with it because you still got the win? Or are you pissed because he just tore up 2 race cars?
Technically, yeah. Well, he's probably mad because he tore up the cars. I mean, for the fans, it's exciting as heck to have these types of. But any of the owners, I mean, you'll ask them, Hendrick won that race, but he had some tore up race cars in the 400 too. So
I mean, does this hurt Chastain going forward? Because I mean, this is a guy that still doesn't have his future solidified yet.
Yeah, this season has hurt him. The fact that the 42 hasn't been announced for him at all. Yeah. He's not in a great place. I mean, he's on a good team.
It sounds a lot like he might go to the Spire car next year.
And that might be all he's got, Eric. That's which would suck for him, because that's all he's done.
Maybe it sucked for him. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe that team's up and coming enough.
Well, if you get the right, we talked about it I think last week.
Yep.
If they're going to build something and they're doing it their way, maybe he's their guy. You get him in early, and
maybe it's not a bad spot to be. We know Chastain's got talent, so if he can come in there with the talent, and they can start putting a team behind him, that maybe he carries them up to be a contender.
Maybe he's one of 2 guys where maybe you bank some of the future on him and you go after Greg Biffle,
right?
Or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't put that in the notes, but Biffle says he wants to race again.
Yeah, we don't need to put the Biff in the notes. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying as an example, you go out and you hire a veteran, you do the Matt Kenseth thing or something along those lines. But that could be a possibility. I hate it for Ross, because I like Ross, but he's definitely not. I mean, he's kind of doing that Matt DiBenedetto thing.
Yeah.
We expected more out of him this year.
Matt DiBenedetto or Alex Bowman was another one that did this sort of thing.
Exactly. But you know what though? If Chastain gets hot in the playoffs and maybe wins the championship, all could change. So that's a great thing. That's the beauty of the playoff system is. Sometimes you can get hot. And,
hey, a couple Xfinity championships will do a lot for you. Bring you up to the Cup Series. You can make Ryan
Newman mad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stick your head where the sun don't shine and cause a wreck. So
yeah, exactly.
Gotta have those callbacks.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right. Some news for the week. There's not a ton of news, but we got a few things. Kind of have the driver stuff mixed in with the regular news. Germain Racing, we learned potentially may lose Geico as a sponsor. Leaving some question marks there as to what happens with that team.
Yeah.
I mean,
could be for sale.
We don't need to lose another team, but
no,
we know there were rumors that RPM's looking for a charter.
Yeah. So there you go. There's a lot going on there. What happens to Ty Dillon? There's just no room at the end at RCR the way it's set up.
No.
Is Jermaine leasing a RCR chart? I can't. This is the whole.
I don't think
charter.
they are, because you can't lease a charter for more than like a year.
I thought Richard Childress had 3 charters from the Paul Menard days.
No,
so
remember we broke it all down and that sold to somebody. I don't remember who it sold to.
God, yeah, I don't know.
But
They had 3
Todd
charters
found it
at
for
one
us.
time.
Jayski has the whole charter chart.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm not looking it up, Eric. I don't need that headache in my life.
No.
No, but Jermaine, Eric Geico's a premier sponsor. And if they're not going to back a team, what does that say for them? That can't be good.
Right.
I'm sure they're locked into that premier partnership. They have to be. It's got to be more than 1 year.
So Richard Childress's number 27 charter was leased to Starcom and 00.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay.
In 2018, and then in 2019, Starcom bought that charter. So
there you go.
That's where it is.
Okay, well, there you go.
You can only lease for a year, and then you have to either use it or sell it.
Quinn Houff, there you go.
Yep.
The man.
It's a good thing it went to somewhere good.
Yeah.
Eric Almirola and Smithfield returned to Stewart-Haas Racing. I don't think that's a surprise. I think we kind of expected Smithfield to stick with Almirola. I mean,
yeah, they're tied together.
Yeah,
they're married.
And the 10 car was not my question mark at SHR. I mean, we brought it up and it was a part of the discussion.
It was a possibility, but it wasn't. There was no. Yeah, we never thought that car's fully funded. You're going to keep the driver. There's
been some really interesting talk around the 14 car this week because Greg Zipadelli said basically that he expects the lineup to remain the same, but then kind of dodged questions on Chase Briscoe and Boyer in the 14 car, and then Brett Griffin says on DBC that Boyer might not be coming back next year. And
I don't think
if he doesn't come back, that he probably will go to TV because there's not really another team he wants to go drive for, but he wants to run another 2 years. And I don't know. There's just been a lot of funny stuff going on with this 14 car, and so I'm still up in the air on it. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we get an announcement like any time that Clint Boyer's back in that car, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we get the opposite.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. I just think that would be a done deal by now. If you think he's coming back. Yeah.
I mean, what are they bickering about? I mean, he's not going to bring in a high salary.
No.
I mean,
unless the sponsors want to keep him and they're having that fight. I know Rush Truck Centers really likes him.
Right.
So, maybe that's what's going on there. I don't know.
It's interesting. So,
I mean, he hasn't done enough to stay in that ride. No, I'm sorry. I mean, I know he made the playoffs and stuff, but
yeah, I think making the playoffs helps him a lot.
Yeah, but there's just better drivers out there.
Yeah, I agree.
That you can get. I mean,
there's 3 floating around right now that are
Eric Jones and Kyle Larson are out there.
Well, Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, and Chase Briscoe. I think all 3 of those are better than Clint Boyer.
Yep.
And one of them's already in the company pipeline.
Yep.
So
and Tony Stewart seems to be okay with him sitting another year with Chase Briscoe.
That's true.
So I don't think they have a plan for Chase Briscoe. Honestly, I don't know if they think that he's gonna be there forever or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's all weird.
Dale Jr. said on his podcast this week that he has no idea why Kyle Larson would come back. Said Larson the entire time in the Cup Series wanted to go do this
too. Yep.
And he's doing it. So why would you come back?
And he's making all the money.
Yep. Yeah.
I guess if he's making enough money, he's doing all the winning.
He's gonna make Donnie Schatz look like he makes nothing off T-shirts because Larson is selling them like freaking crazy.
And if Kyle Larson's gonna win like this, I mean, he won a freaking late model dirt late model race.
Second dirt late model race of his life, and he wins it.
We've been bringing him up. Dale Jr. is right though. I mean, you come back, headache city.
Yep. Yeah. Why? If you were Larson, would you do it?
I don't know.
Let's put it this way: as much as
he's already lost all the money,
Larson never felt like he really wanted to be here. And I know he denied that when people would accuse him of it, but he just didn't feel comfortable in the Cup Series.
Nope, never did.
So I don't know. I don't think if I'm making enough to survive and to fund what I want to do, which apparently is racing for him, I wouldn't come back. I don't think,
No, I don't think so.
unless
either.
he just wants the limelight. But I think he's
What-
getting more of it where he's
I
at.
don't think he wants the limelight anymore.
Right.
I think he's fine with what he's at. I mean, he's out there. He's been saying some stuff. I mean, he's
Yeah.
talking. So,
I don't know. Junior said he invited him on the show, so we'll see if he gets on
man, that would be something.
the download. Yeah, be good
Yeah.
stuff. I had to add this because Noah Gregson, the troll that he is,
Oh my God. I
got
know.
everybody up in arms last week when he made a comment about. Well, he posted a picture, an emoji of a pen on Twitter, and then made some comments about always wanting to run in the Cup Series or something like that. And immediately everybody went
I love it.
freaking
I know.
crazy that
I know.
Gregson was going to the 48. And I'm sitting here going, we just
There's no
discussed,
way.
there's no
I
way
know.
this kid is ready for the Cup Series.
I know.
And I thought, I pictured him coming back to JRM. I didn't think that he'd go anywhere else. I didn't think Junior would let him go. He certainly needs another year in Xfinity. And so it didn't surprise me that he was re-signing with JRM. But I'll tell you what, man, I've never seen somebody get that much attention for re-signing an
I know. Isn't
Xfinity
that
Series contract.
Isn't that great? Yeah, it was pretty
If,
funny.
if this isn't a reason to love Noah Gregson, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. It was good.
Kid is
He
awesome.
fooled us. He had us all in a wad.
He's such a pain in the ass, but I'll tell you what, I love him.
Yeah, he's got a good personality. If he
He
can
does.
figure the driving thing out just a little bit more.
He just
refine
he
that.
just needs to rein it in.
Yep.
That's all he's got to do. Rein it in
Yeah,
a little
lots
bit
of
and he'll
guys.
be good.
Eric, lots of young guys have had to rein it in.
Yep.
In NASCAR history. So
Well, and
he'll be fine.
I'll reference another DBC thing here that Brett was talking about, that he was on a conference call with Elliott Sadler and Ross Chastain recently. And this was, talking about Joey Logano and how Joey races. But Gregson's in the same boat, that Sadler said that, he used to race the way he raced because he was afraid of upsetting people in the garage. He was afraid of upsetting other drivers. And then Sadler said, since he's retired, since he went back to Virginia, none of them's called him. And he says,
Yep.
Maybe he should have raced him more like a butthole,
Yeah.
And it's true, don't try to make friends. You're out here to make a career,
Yeah.
do what you got to do. And so maybe Gregson running like an idiot is okay.
You think Tony Stewart or Kyle Busch have cared about making friends?
No.
No.
Heck no.
They're there to win.
Yep.
Yep. All the great ones don't care. I mean, Jimmy's wired a little differently,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, you knew Jimmy wanted to win.
Well, and at the end of the day, Jimmy's going to take it from you too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's just going to be nice about it.
Yeah. He got your respect. Tony was like that too, though. Tony was friends with the best one's
Yeah.
Dale Sr. Dale Sr. was friends with you to
Yeah.
have a competitive advantage over you.
Exactly.
He had that Michael Jordan thing, that really wicked side, where I'll be your
I don't
buddy.
know if Tony was friends with everybody. I asked Brian Vickers
No.
how good of friends Tony was with everybody.
Well, Brian ended up racing his car.
That's
if you
true.
if you remember,
That's
I mean,
true.
so he's had. I know he has Tony had more respect, I think, than for other guys. But I don't know.
He did.
Yeah. I mean, him and Kenny Irwin were legendary, hated each other, and when Kenny passed, I think it hurt Tony just as much as anybody too. So
Yeah, Tony, I think, got driver's respect later in his career, though. It wasn't so
he
much
did.
early.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, when you're
Of course,
on your way out.
Earnhardt's the same way. I mean, people all the drivers hated Earnhardt when he started, and then
heck
he
yeah.
got the respect later on. So
Yep.
it's just how it is. I mean, Jimmy's always had everybody's respect. Like you said, Jimmy's wired differently. Jimmy's not human anyway. I think we've already determined that.
Yeah, machine dude.
He's like the nicest person, and everything he does in his life, he's the best at. And so, I mean, there's a reason to hate him.
Makes me sick. There's a reason I did hate him for so long, and now I can't help but respect the dude.
Exactly.
He's something else, man.
Yep. Steve Phelps talked to the media this week. A number of things discussed. I think the biggest thing that jumped out for me on this whole discussion, though, was the 2021 schedule. Phelps said that we could expect to see the 2021 schedule come out in segments, kind of like what we did this year. A lot depending on how much of a stranglehold COVID still has on everything. Not really surprised by that, but disappointed. I was hoping we'd get a full schedule and see. A couple other things that he mentioned. He talked about midweek races are not a priority for next season, so that was interesting.
Yeah.
And definitely on the table is some new tracks. So, and he made it pretty clear, I think, that we are not expecting Daytona to be a road course on the schedule so much, especially not replacing the current 400. So
Yeah,
that's
great.
good to know.
Nope. Yep, that's all I needed to hear.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
He said a bunch of interesting things.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some things that were kind of disappointing. But other than that, I mean, I like the idea of the segmentation.
Yeah.
Because I think NASCAR is going to need that flexibility coming into next year.
Right. I think so too. I mean, and I'd be curious to see if maybe they float a tentative schedule to the teams, so at least teams can get ready for races without, announcing it publicly. I don't know if they can pull something like that off because the teams are independent, so the teams might leak it. But I mean, you would think they'd have to give some advanced knowledge to the teams to get ready. But at the same time, I mean, these teams aren't building any new cars anyway because this car is done after next year. So maybe it's a perfect year to do it.
Next year's gonna be weird.
Yeah.
Again, we're gonna have another weird year.
Yeah, it's gonna be another transition year.
Yep.
All right. Cole Custer's Rookie of the Year, James. It's over. 10 races to go. Cole Custer has clinched it.
Yeah.
So I know that I've heard a lot of discussion back and forth on this. You and I kind of talked a little bit before the podcast, and I think we're going to agree on this actually. But a lot of people are upset with the fact that, Cole wasn't leading the Rookie of the Year battle. Tyler Reddick was, and now Cole, because he got a win and nobody else did, he locks himself into the top 16. NASCAR has changed the rules for the Rookie of the Year, and basically where you finish in points is where you finish in the Rookie of the Year standings. And because Cole cannot fall lower than 16th, he cannot possibly be passed by Reddick or anybody else, and thus he is officially the Rookie of the Year. A lot of people are upset with that. My take on it is, James, he got a win, and maybe he'll underperform everybody else, but still get to keep that Rookie of the Year title. But isn't that exactly what the playoffs are?
Yeah.
That's if you don't like this, then you can't like our playoff system, which I know a lot of people don't like our playoff system, but it's no different. Does it not make sense to have the Rookie of the Year decided the same way as the playoff system?
Yes.
I mean, let's take. I mean, who's the farthest back that has a win? Austin Dillon, Cole Custer,
Cole Custer and Austin Dillon because of
Yeah. I mean, they don't deserve to be in that spot that they're in, but they're going to finish 16th or better because they got to win, and that's just how this works. You right now, the way the rookies, the way the Cup Series is, you don't expect a rookie to come in and win in their first year. If they do, there you go. They just solidified themselves as. The only time I might be upset with something like this, like last year, Justin Haley would have been Rookie of the Year if he had been running for rookie points.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, even that, I'm okay with it. First of all, who gives a crap about Rookie of the Year anyway?
Well,
honestly?
that's what I was going to say is, Eric, what's the most meaningless award in the history of NASCAR?
Exactly.
Rookie of the Year.
Well,
right?
that or most popular driver. I mean.
Yeah, that's another one.
And I guess if you want to do that, then sure.
Your fans won't like that, but yeah, that's right.
Well, Dale Jr. got one of those two awards. He got most popular driver, not Rookie of the Year.
Well, and when you think of Jimmy Johnson, do you think Rookie of the Year is going to be on his plaque? Because it ain't, because he didn't win it, and you think he did.
And
he had an incredible year his rookie year, and he still lost it.
You know who did win a Rookie of the Year in the Cup Series?
Ryan Newman.
Kevin Conway.
Kevin Conway, Andy Lally comes to mind.
I mean, who cares? This is not.
Nobody cares about the Rookie of the Year.
No.
Who cares?
No.
Not a big deal.
We've already talked about it longer than we needed to.
It doesn't mean you're gonna have superstar success in the sport. God, get out of here with your Rookie of the Year nonsense, people.
I will say back in the day of the Ray Bestis Rookie of the Year award, it was better. I mean, but we had rookies coming up every year, and it was a battle every year, and then it became where it wasn't, and it ended that system. But again, I mean, Dale Jr., most popular driver, most people would say Dale Jr. was a Rookie of the Year, but Dale Jr. didn't win the Rookie of the Year, and who cares?
No, Kenseth did.
Yep, and like you said, Jimmy Johnson, greatest of all time. We've declared it on the show multiple times, greatest of all time. Didn't win a Rookie of the Year, so
never won the Rookie of the Year.
Who cares?
And honestly, he's got the biggest gripe of any of them.
Right.
He probably should have won it. That was a different system back then.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Newman had how many polls? You got points for polls, I think.
Yeah.
Is how Ryan Newman ended up winning the thing. He won it by the skin of his teeth or whatever, but he still won it. So,
yeah,
that's crazy.
And I mean,
God.
we've had drivers that have come in and run more races than they can run and not be declared a rookie and just not be eligible for Rookie of the Year, who should have been. I mean, who cares?
Don't you just love the internet?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it boils down to. I love the internet.
Yeah. Some days I do, some days I don't.
Yeah. I know.
We already talked about William Byron extends with Hendrick for another year, gives him 2 more years on his contract. So
Yep,
through
2022.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good deal for Rick Hendrick.
Yeah, good on William. I mean, that gives him 2 more years to prove himself. I think he will.
I know the teams like these short deals for these drivers, but if I'm a driver, I like the short deals. I like the short deals too because
you think so?
Yeah, because if he explodes, the market's going to be huge for him in 2022 when he's up for that deal.
Yeah.
I like the move. I like, especially when you're a younger driver with something to prove. Yeah, I think, especially when you're with Hendrick, like some drivers would want to have the stability. I understand of a long-term deal, but man, he's got flexibility to make some big moves down the line when he's really valuable. I mean, Kyle Larson had it right. He was ready to cash in, and then everything came apart. So, but I like this for both Hendrick and Byron. I think it's a great move for both of them.
Yep. Okay. With that, any other news? Did I miss anything?
I can do a quick scroll of the tweeter to see if we missed anything, but I don't think so.
Break at the last minute here.
It usually does. Clint Boyer tried to eat a piece of chocolate today and howled at the moon. That was on the internet.
Oh God, Clint Boyer.
He's something else. Man.
Clint. I love Clint, but I think Clint will be better as a broadcaster.
He's pretty good on TV.
He is.
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace is running a green throwback to Richard Petty.
Yep. Oh yeah, the throwbacks are coming out, and I don't know if we can go through all of them, but yeah, there's.
We don't need to go through all of them. What do you think of the Ross Chastain Dale Jr. Dale Senior throwback?
Yeah, that one's good.
It's a pretty looking car. I love the fact that they let him run.
Gold numbers are nice.
Exactly, the gold flake numbers are sweet.
The Kevin Harvick throwback that is being run in the Xfinity series is a good one.
Yeah.
There's a handful of really good ones out there.
I understand there's some good truck ones. I haven't looked at any of the truck ones.
Yeah, I haven't gone through J-Ski to see, but there's some really good ones.
Yeah.
I mean, this year is kind of a pass. There's a lot of bad ones too.
Right.
But
there's a lot of bad ones.
Yeah, there's some good ones. I really like the Jeff Burton throwback that Harrison's gonna do.
Yeah.
It looks really ugly with the 20 on it, but I just like that one.
Christopher Bell, add Christopher Bell to the list of people throwing back to himself.
Yeah, Chris Bell. Yeah, that's another one. The 17 Elliott Sadler throwbacks are good.
Yeah.
I like that Joe Gibbs Racing learned from their mistakes in the past and put the right font on the cars.
Right.
That's a big deal for me.
I will give M&M's credit and Kyle Busch's team credit for barely changing anything but coming up with a really good throwback.
Yeah, because they threw back to Ernie Irvin last year, and I don't know if you can throw back to the same driver every time just because of the sponsor. So, yeah, if you're going to throw back to Sadler, I like that.
Sadler's a good throwback.
Yeah, it's good.
And Elliott's pretty excited about it, too. He had some good times at Robert Yates. So, and like you said, they got the number right. Get the number font right, man.
That's my biggest gripe with a lot of these teams is get the number font right. That's all I ask.
Nothing irritated me more than when the first year we did this and we had 2 Hooters cars. One of them had the exact right paint scheme, but the wrong obviously it was the 16 because it was Biffle's car.
Yeah, the wrong font.
And then the 7 car had the perfect opportunity to run the correct font, and they ran their normal font.
I know.
Regan Smith. Right? It was Regan Smith?
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
And what's some other good ones I really like and the past? I'm just trying. We don't have to go through the whole thing, but there's been. I just think this year's been kind of a punt.
It has, and that's expected. I mean,
I understand.
It's not the first thing that comes to mind this year. It's a little disappointing.
We like this race because of it, but
yeah, it'll be fun to see the cars on the track. But 2020 is a throwaway year, man.
Yeah, last year was really good. I do like. I will say like Chase Briscoe's Xfinity Series scheme, obviously for many reasons. It's the Tony Stewart Championship throwback scheme.
Right.
I've got that diecast autographed right here. I'm looking at it right now. So I do like that one for that reason. But other than that, yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty of good ones. Go out there and find them.
Yep.
They're great.
All right. It's playoff time, James.
Oh, boy.
We're here. It's time for the playoffs.
Snuck up on us.
Do we? Should I run through the whole list of drivers in the playoffs? In case anybody's living under a rock.
We can name them really quick.
All right, real quick. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, William Byron, Austin Dillon, Cole Custer, Eric Almirola, Clint Bowyer, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, and Matt DiBenedetto are your 16 playoff finalists.
And Kyle Busch seated 14th.
That is crazy.
3 playoff points. Woo.
So we did brackets. We'll share our brackets on the Facebook page. If you guys want to share your brackets on the Facebook page, share them with us. We'll put them right in the post of this. Well, I don't know. James didn't do a bracket, but I did a bracket. Todd did a bracket.
I'm being a curmudgeon.
Yeah. But I'll share it right in the comments on this post for this episode. If you want to share yours, share it there, and we'll see how everybody does. With that, we're going to discuss a little bit with it. We won't go through the whole brackets like we've done in the past because A, it's boring, and B, James didn't do his bracket. So
I'm on the fly, baby. Let's go.
So
I'm ready.
A couple questions. First of all, let's just do this. Do you have a Final Four at least, James? Do you know who your Final Four are?
I know who I'm putting in the Final Four.
All right,
you want to go ahead and
okay?
do yours?
I'll do my Final Four. My Final Four. I went really conservative on this year. I didn't put any surprises in anywhere. I guess the biggest surprise for me is that I don't have Kyle Busch. No, I have Kyle Busch in the round of 8. I don't have him making it to the Final Four. So I feel like Kyle's too good to not get into the 8.
I don't think Kyle Busch is getting out of the first round, honestly. I think he
might.
Oh,
I don't think.
Yeah.
No,
I think
he's gonna get out of the first round. You got guys that are back there. You got your Austin Dillon and your Cole Custers. Those guys are.
First, though, he'll be all right.
Cole Custer, Austin Dillon, they aren't making it out of the first round. I mean, so you got. I don't think Matt DiBenedetto does. I think you got enough people that are going to fall out that first round that Kyle's going to do okay.
Here's the thing you and I always talk about, and we talked about it before we started the podcast today. Somebody sneaks through every time. And honestly, Eric, maybe Kyle Busch is the guy who sneaks through.
Maybe. All right, let me get my Final Four, and then we'll get into this. My Final Four: Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr. Again, real conservative. That's where I'm thinking. And I have, as much as I want to see as much as I want to see Denny Hamlin win the championship, as much as Denny Hamlin deserves to win the championship, this is Kevin Harvick's championship, man.
Yeah, I think so.
Harvick's got the title.
So you got Harvick with the title.
I got Harvick with the title, and those are my Final Four.
Yeah, it's really hard to pick against Kevin Harvick, huh?
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. Denny Hamlin's been great this year, but who's been just a little bit better?
Harvick's always been a little bit better.
Yep.
I will say,
not to mention you're going to one of, not that Harvick's got a lot of greatest tracks, but going to one of Harvick's best tracks.
Yeah, but since the reconfiguration, you could say that Denny Hamlin's been better there.
That's true.
So that's part of it.
I hope these two are battling door handle to door handle coming to the checkered flag.
Yeah, and it's here's the thing. So I have Kevin Harvick winning the title as well.
I think Denny blows it in the Final Four. I think Denny blows it in that last race, just like they did last year.
Denny's got a history.
Denny had the championship last year. It was his.
He had the championship in 2010 as well, and he let that one go.
Yep.
So he's had opportunity after opportunity.
Yep. Who's your Final Four, James?
I wanted to say really quick though, if Denny or Kevin win this championship, I would be ecstatic for both of those guys.
Yeah, me too.
If Denny wins this thing, dude deserves one, should have one. He should have a couple of them. He's that good. But I also think if Kevin Harvick doesn't get at least a second title in his career, that's a super big disappointment for how good he's been. So
if one of those two guys doesn't win it this year, it's a travesty.
That
being said, that's the system we have, and I love it. But
that's the year Joey Logano won the title, Eric. That year Joey won the title, and honestly, the year Jimmy Johnson won his 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Those were 2 years where guys snuck in there and won titles they probably shouldn't have. But
that's the system we got.
So I got Harvick, Hamlin. I mean, they're locks. They are so far ahead. They are locks. And then I went Truex and I went Brad Keselowski.
I almost went
pretty
Brad.
much chalk. I went pretty much chalk. I mean, it really is chalk.
I think Chase is going to get a couple more wins. That's the only reason I put Chase in there.
Yeah, he's going to win that Roval probably. That's another. But I think Martin can win that race too. So Chase is probably obviously the odds-on favorite. There's some guys who can win that race. I just think Martin has been honestly, he's been the third best driver this year.
Yeah.
Because of the momentum he's gained here in the last few weeks.
I agree.
But Brad Keselowski, man, that dude's no slouch.
No.
And he's quite like a silent assassin. And I think he can come in there and sneak it out.
Chase is my Final Four wild card. I feel like the other three are locks. I think that just the way their seasons, unless things just go up in smoke for Martin Truex Jr., those three are making it. Yeah, there's nobody honestly, I can see that will get in over Truex.
Yeah, and honestly, Eric, I like your Final Four picks better than mine because there's going to be that guy that gets in, whether it's Chase, Joey.
Yeah. I just don't see enough out of Joey right now.
But, honestly, I feel like this playoff just feels super top heavy to me.
Yeah.
I think you've got 6 guys that really are going for those Final Four spots. And I think I like those 4 that I picked over anybody else. I think it's because Denny and Kevin are pretty much locks. They're virtual locks. They are so far ahead.
If those 2 don't get in, then something's wrong with this system.
Yeah, I mean that's 2 straight last place finishes or 3 straight last place finishes. That's how bad they'd have to be. Have either of them gone? Like, have we gone 3 races this year where Harvick or Hamlin hasn't won a race? I could look that up. Or at the beginning of the year we did.
Because I would imagine one of them is going to get a win in that final in those 3 races.
Yeah, let me look at this. Let me look at that really quick. Because you bring up a good point. Because I think we're
one of them's going to get a win and get in, and one of them's going to get in on points. I mean,
yeah. Let me see.
If
so
they
at
don't
the
both
beginning,
win and get in.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the year, obviously Hamlin won the 500. Then we went Joey, Bowman, Joey. And then 8 weeks off because of COVID.
Right.
And then Harvick, Hamlin, Chase, Harvick. Ever since then, it's been one of those guys every week.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the biggest stretch.
Yep.
So, there you go.
Okay.
That's crazy.
So, all right, we talked. You mentioned Kyle Busch, maybe a wild card. Who's your wild card? Who's your guy that could be a spoiler here?
If the team can figure it out, I don't want to go with Logano. I think he's too good to be considered that.
Yeah.
But I'll go with the third Penske guy. I'll go with Ryan Blaney.
That's funny. That's my exact pick.
Yeah, because they're the team that has the speed that you need. I think it's a hard switch for them to flip, but I think that they can reach back and find it. It's not out of the realm of possibility. That being said, he's probably my favorite one, but also if he can sneak through here a little bit, Alex Bowman, if he can somehow get to Fort Worth, Kansas and Texas are, races 33 and 34. There's a possibility there, but I still like Blaney over Bowman.
I have Blaney making the round of 8.
Yeah, so. I think so. Yeah, I think so. Talladega right there. He's going to be good there. He'll be good at Vegas.
The only other one I could see being a sleeper and getting deep without, I don't see him in the Final Four, but I could see him going deep, is just if this win lights up William Byron. I don't see it happening, but you never know. You never know what one win will do.
The sleeper, the big sleeper in this whole playoff thing is Kyle Busch. I mean, he is a sleeping giant, and if he pulls a Tony Stewart in 2011,
you can't imagine he's going to go through these playoffs and not win a race, right? I know it seems like it might be logical to say that because he hasn't won since Homestead, but I just feel like he's been so close. He's been there. He's going to get a win.
He was junk at Darlington when we were there earlier this year. I mean,
the problem is when you have the statistics that you have with how many races that Denny and Harvick have won, there's just not that many opportunities to win a race.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's he's running out of opportunities, but again, he is a sleeping giant.
Well, we're going to go to Richmond in the first round. He's good at Richmond. He's great at Bristol. I mean, he's arguably the best Bristol driver we've got, him and his brother.
Yep. De Benedetto, honestly, I mean, why not? He could be on that list too. He's been good there, so
I mean, I see round of 12 being tough for him. I mean, Talladega, he's won at Talladega, but he's not usually good at Vegas. He's got to win there, but usually that's an Achilles heel, his home track. Yeah. And I don't see him doing much at the Roval.
He's a good road. He can win road courses. I mean, it's
Yeah,
you know.
I think Chase is your guy on the Rovals right now, and
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Chase is a really good. I mean, that's one of the things where, I think maybe Chase will win that Roval. But then again, I think Martin Truex Jr. could win there, but I think Martin Truex wins Martinsville too.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing is it's we gotta, like I said, we're top heavy. Chase is kind of right on the outside of that group. He's like right there, right there.
if Kyle doesn't make it out of the first round, if your defending champion doesn't make it out of the first round, does that say that there's a problem with the system, or is that just, hey, that's how it works?
Not a bad year. Yeah, bad year. It's a weird year for everybody, but yeah, that's the way it goes.
I mean,
man,
obviously 2020 has affected Kyle most of anybody. And I think Kyle is affecting Kyle just as much. We know that Kyle likes to get in his own head. And I think he's decided, I mean, it's the reason that he sucks at Michigan. I think he's decided that this year just sucks, and that's what you got. So
yeah, he's kind of a crank.
Yeah.
So notorious crank.
KFB.
There you go.
KFB.
We got beat.
So
That's great. That's just great.
all right. Anything else to talk with the playoffs? Did I miss anything? Who would
looking
be a
forward to
shock if they don't make it out of the first round? Like we know Harvick and Hamlin are going through. I mean, who would be the biggest, like, oh my God?
Eric, there's a drop off. I mean, really, it's like a cliff.
Say that again because you broke up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that I think there's some sort of there's like a talent drop off on this playoff bracket. Don't you think?
I agree. That's the problem with 16 drivers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's funny because despite the fact that we have that, we had drivers that probably should have gotten in based on their talent that didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really weird how it's worked. I mean,
yeah. Like, would you be shocked if Ryan Blaney doesn't make it out of the first round? Like, is that an, oh my God, Ryan Blaney did not make it out of the first round?
No, because I think that they could implode. I think the biggest shock for me would be someone like Truex.
Yeah,
or
that's
Chase.
what I was saying. That's where it falls off. It's Truex and Chase.
Even Logano, Keselowski, I don't know that I'd be shocked. I mean, I'd be pretty surprised. But someone like Chase or Truex, I think those guys get through pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's.
I mean, Truex, you're going to get through on second place finishes, so.
Yeah, seconds and thirds. That's what he does.
Yep. So. But I'm excited. I'm excited it's playoff time. I think I think the way the playoffs are set up this year are great. I love like I said, I love the first round. Absolutely love the first round. There's nothing you can complain about. You got arguably one of the greatest tracks. It's a little different this year because we've already raced there twice.
Yeah.
But it's still arguably one of the greatest tracks that we start the playoffs with. And then Richmond and Bristol to back it up. What more can you ask for? We go to Vegas in the next round. Vegas doesn't thrill me a whole lot, but then you cap it off with Talladega and Charlotte, the Roval.
Yeah.
That's great. I guess probably the round that I'm least excited about would be the round of 8 with Kansas and Texas in there. But you finish it up with Martinsville.
Yeah, you get Martinsville as a go win or go home race, which is nice.
And I'm optimistic that Phoenix will put on a good show, that the fight for the championship and the fact that we've got the old, high horsepower, low downforce package will allow us to have a good show at Phoenix. And
yeah,
we shall see.
Yep. And, we should mention too, a lot of great teams out there. Gibbs, Hendrick, so on and so forth. Stewart-Haas Racing, got all 4 of them in there.
Yeah.
Them and Penske. So all those 8 Fords, if you count De Benedetto, they got them all, which is pretty astounding, really.
Yeah.
Considering, Gibbs has had a lot of success making playoffs and things like that, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty neat.
I know Cole Custer's, got that win, and that's what got him in. But I mean, he's won a race.
Got to win. And
exactly.
again, we talked about it. Kentucky. He didn't luck into a win. He didn't get a rain out. He didn't. He
got an opportunity and took it. Yeah, I mean, William Byron, kind of the same thing. There was an opportunity, and those guys both took it. So he's in.
Hey, mad respect for anybody who wins a super speedway race, because you got to survive to get there. And
yeah.
A lot of it's
not
luck,
like he led one lap. He led 24 of them on Sundays or Saturdays. So
yep.
Pretty cool.
All right, we go to Darlington this weekend. It's the Southern 500. We're coming off of Daytona where James kicked my butt on picks. James managed, he only got 2 points out of it, so it's not that big of a deal. But
Yeah, it was salvaged. I salvaged a nice day. McDowell got me worried, but he rallied on me. So
I went all in on Eric Jones for the win, and James picked Denny Hamlin, which was a safer bet. He gets the point there. And then I picked Corey LaJoie as my dark horse, which I thought was pretty good. But then James came in with Michael McDowell, which made me immediately regret my Corey LaJoie choice. And there you go. It was Corey LaJoie or Bubba Wallace, so I should have went with Bubba because I would have gotten you.
Had Bubba, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You had it. You talked about it too.
Yep.
You had a shot at him.
Yeah. So. All right. I get the first pick for Darlington. I don't know, James. Are we just gonna swap between Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin all season for the?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Do we need? I don't want to get rid of them because I need to catch up.
We
so.
only got 16 guys to pick from, and the fact that if one of us picks one of them, the other one's available. I think it's fair game.
Fair game because we're doing playoff and non-playoff drivers.
Yep,
so.
I wanted to clarify that. That's how we're doing it for the playoffs. We were picking one playoff driver, one non-playoff driver for each race. And which means I have to probably pull up the playoff drivers so I can remember which ones are in the playoffs.
But they are on the show notes for you, just in case.
I'm having a tough time between those two guys, but I'm just going to go with the guy who's just a little bit better, and I'm going to go Kevin Harvick as my pick.
He led 169 laps over the 2 races earlier this year. Obviously, he finished first and second, right? So.
Yep.
A little bit better than Denny Hamlin, so that's a great pick. He'll probably win the damn thing. So I can't compete with you there, other than to say Denny Hamlin.
There
so
you go. I already put it in.
I'll take my Denny Hamlin, but I do get the dark horse, which I think I can get a point on you here. Which isn't even a dark horse; it's a non-playoff driver.
Correct.
Which is great for me. I'll take Eric Jones.
I knew you were going to do that.
2 top 10s earlier this year, led 27 laps. So I like that. I do like that there, so that's good for me.
All right. I think I am going to just go with the average finish, and even though he doesn't have a lot of experience there, I like the style of track for Tyler Reddick, and I'm going to take Tyler Reddick as my non-playoff driver.
That's not bad.
He is 4th average finish. He's only run 2 races there. No top 5s, but he's got 1 top 10 there.
Yep, that was earlier this year. And looking at the total points from the 2 races we ran earlier this year, he was 11th overall. And he's definitely besides Eric Jones, he's your first non-playoff driver. So
yeah, he's got nothing to lose either. So
yeah,
go out there and get him a win and get me 2 points.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Fantasy league, I know I sucked again, so I don't care.
I was going to mention too. Jimmy Johnson's a non-playoff driver, so he's out there for us, Eric, on any dark horses. He should have won the dang stage.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a good pick, actually.
I know, but you already picked. So
yeah, you're right. You're right. I already did.
And he's going to be hunting for wins. So
yeah, he's going to be a good option for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's hard. I know I thought about it, but I liked Eric Jones too much.
Yeah, Eric Jones is a great pick.
So we all
crapped out. Just to clarify this is how this system works now that we changed it. James's dark horse, and I use air quotes because it's not a dark horse anymore. James's dark horse is last year's winner of this race.
Yeah. Yep. That's the rules.
Jeez.
I got to do it. Man, after that butt kicking I took at Michigan this year, I got a long way to go still.
You're getting closer. This week helped you.
Yeah, I nipped it a little bit, but you've got Harvick, so we'll see.
That's right.
So we all sucked at Daytona for picks. Byron Speedway continues his assault with a 2nd place finish, but Todd got the win, 184 for him. Then Byron. Then I finished 3rd. Denny the Many, and then the KB Show rolled in at 5th place. But again, we all sucked. It wasn't great for anybody.
So I thought about James next year for the fantasy, if we do it again, putting a prize on the line. But if we do that, we lose Todd.
That's true.
Because he can't do it if there's
Well,
some
and then it
sort
opens
of-
up a chance for somebody to win. So
right.
that would be good.
But I was trying to think of like, could I put like a die cast up or put some money up or something to get people to maybe do it and see how they do. I'm thinking about it. We'll discuss it.
Oh, that's good. I like
we'll
that.
see
It's
if we
good
can come up
options.
with an option for next season.
I like that. I like
So-
that. Well, we're not going to win, so we don't have to worry
Right,
about
exactly. Yeah, I don't have to worry about it
it.
at all.
Overall standings, Todd got a little bit of a gap on Ranger. He's up 80 points for the lead. It's a little bit further back for third, but I'm closing in on Justin 713, and then Denny the Many is fifth. But Eric, you're hanging in there, buddy.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah, I've got a nice gap on you now on the fantasy league, so that makes me feel better.
And was it you or was it Todd that informed us that they changed the way the playoffs work for the?
That's right. Yep. So you can pick anybody you want. It's definitely new rules this year, but you get 5 starts for everybody, and you can go all playoff drivers if you want. You can go non-playoff drivers, but 5 starts. That's what you get for every driver moving forward.
Interesting.
So it's different. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at my roster right now, and hey, man, if I'm going to catch Todd, I'm going to start using some dudes.
You can tell that NASCAR runs the fantasy because they change the rules every year.
Oh, it's terrible.
But
Yeah. Dum.
All right, James, got any shout outs?
I was trying to think of some this week.
I've got a good one.
I had a good one last week, but you go ahead.
All right, so have you been watching the Scene Vault stuff?
No, I need to do this.
So
I really do. I keep getting sucked into other things.
I have an Ernie Irvin story that I bet you've never heard.
I love Ernie Irvin stories.
So Morgan McClure was on the Scene Vault. I talked about the Scene Vault a couple weeks ago. That it's a podcast. Jayski's got it on his site, but you can just search YouTube for the Scene Vault. It's some really great stuff. A lot of interviews with old drivers and team owners and whatnot. Morgan McClure was on there, and so he talked about when Ernie left Morgan McClure to go to Robert Yates. And basically Ernie did this behind, of course, this is coming from Morgan McClure. This is not, an unencompassed, unbiased story. But according to Morgan, Ernie did this behind Morgan's back. Morgan got word from, I forget who it was, that told him that Ernie is going over the 28 car. And so Morgan cornered Ernie and Ernie said, "Yep, I'm doing it. It's already done. I'm going over there." And Morgan says, we got a contract with you. I think they had another year or a couple of years on a contract for Ernie. And Ernie said, "You can't afford to keep me." And basically the next 2 races after that confrontation, Ernie blew a motor both races. And basically the threat from Ernie was that he was going to keep blowing motors. The first weekend, I think it was Bristol, and he blew motors in practice, qualifying, and the race.
Racing reference. I got to look this up now.
So basically, Ernie went a couple races, blew motors on purpose, and Morgan said, "All right, that's it. I can't do it. Go ahead and go over there." And Ernie went to Robert Yates, middle of the season or tail end of the season.
Yeah, that's because he ran 9 races in '93 after Davey had passed.
Yep.
So yeah, let me look at this really quick. I want to see what his results.
I don't
say.
know if I have all those facts right, but if you go on YouTube and
Holy
and
crap,
look it up,
dude! You're right. Yeah, he's got engine and engine. Yeah, that's funny.
Yep. And the one was there was something
To be fair, he blew a lot of engines
true.
that season.
But-
A lot of engines that season.
but there
so.
was something about the one of them that it was like really obvious that it wasn't a mechanical failure, that it
Well,
was
at Bristol,
intentional.
he blew it on lap 316,
Yeah.
and then he blew one at Michigan on lap 155. But he blew motors all year that year. Gaskets. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I knew that the split was not amicable.
No, Ernie talks about it in his book too.
Yeah.
And what's funny? I guess I'll use my shout out because I sent you a tweet earlier today. But some of Nate Ryan's stuff had come up
Yeah.
doing Ernie Irvin stories on how he got into a confrontation with Kenny Irwin, already knowing that Kenny was taking his seat
Hmm.
at a truck race at California, now known as Auto Club. And Kenny kind of raced Ernie rough, and they had their first ever words with each other in a confrontation on pit road after that race. Ernie was kind of a little bit of a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
Where I'm learning now as I read more about Ernie these days. Some of these stories are coming out, and he definitely has a history of stuff. So
Right.
Still my favorite driver from when I was a kid. I don't care.
Well, I remember that whole deal was pretty dirty. I remember we went to Michigan in August, and that was when word broke that he was going. And
Ford headhunted him out of that seat. To be
Yeah.
honest with you. That's where, according to Ernie's book, that's how it went. Ford went after him
right.
right away.
But I remember Michigan in August. That was when we heard the word, and maybe that's what it was. I think he blew a motor at Michigan, and then blew a motor at Bristol. Is that what it was? Because Bristol's right after
and
Michigan.
Bristol. Yep, Michigan and Bristol. Yep.
Yep. And so and it was really quick after that he was all of a sudden in the 28. Like usually you would expect somebody to finish out the season where they were, and there was no finishing out the season. He was there immediately.
Yep. And he started winning, by the way. I mean, he was
Yeah.
winning, and then was a legit championship contender the next year before he got hurt.
Yeah. Ernie's another one of those drivers. Add him to the list of drivers that if one thing would have gone a little bit differently, the record books would be a lot different.
Oh, and Ernie's split with Robert Yates was not pretty either. If you want to read about that, but
Yeah.
I think he got done wrong, and then he did them wrong. I think it's a two-sided story. That was not a pretty split there either.
There's some pretty interesting stuff though on the Scene Vault stuff. There's some talk about when he did the speech at the drivers meeting that was not prompted by NASCAR. That was Ernie trying to save face there's some interesting stuff behind that too. So
I could do a whole podcast on Swerve and Ernie Irvin. That was
Sure.
my dude, man.
See, my stepdad was a big Ernie Irvin fan, but I didn't follow the Ernie Irvin stuff real close. So I'm sure you know more than I do. But
Yeah.
I had a feeling that this part of the story you might not have heard.
Yeah, that
because
was good. I'm glad you brought that up because I did not know that he pretty much.
I knew you read his book, but I figured Ernie probably didn't confess
Yeah,
in
put
his
that
book
in
that he
his
blew
book.
motors on purpose.
I'd have to look. I'd have to look it up. And honestly, I could probably maybe do that as a little bit of a homework assignment and see what he says about it because
Yeah.
I could try to find that.
The good stuff. All right, James, where can they find you on social media if they want to chat with you during the week?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can
if
find
wanna
me. Find me on @TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TheSuperspeedway. Remember, if you want to share your bracket, you can do that on this post on Facebook, facebook.com/TheSuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find links to our old podcasts on there. Links to the show notes. Those will have links to all the articles that we discussed, as long as we weren't too lazy to put the links in. And all kinds of good stuff on there, old photos and stuff like that you can check out as well. So do that. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and SoundCloud, wherever you found us today. We hope you subscribe and continue to listen. And if you want to become a patron and help us out with the show, you can do that at patreon.com/thesuperspeedway. Regular season is over. We are headed to Darlington for the Southern 500 and the kickoff of the playoffs. 10 more races to go to finish out the season. We're back on schedule, which is awesome. And we'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll both be back next week to discuss Darlington breaking down.
Whole other thing.
James is trying to bail on us because his wife's having a kid. I mean, I don't know why that takes precedence over the podcast, but
Yeah, right.
whatever. We'll just, if James is out, he doesn't get to make his picks that week, and that allows me to move forward. That'll encourage him to come back because that'll be important to him, right, James?
I'll text it to you right from the delivery room.
No.
I'll text you.
You got to be on the
I
show.
want Harvick. If I lose my picks on a week that I get the first pick, I'm going to be mad.
You got to be on the show, man. You can't pick without being on the show.
Schedule's been against me from day one.
So anyway, one of us at least will be back next week to talk about the Southern 500 and preview the next race coming up. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.